It's finally time to test out the FTX Comet. So I come to this piece of development ground which hasn't had any development on it for ages, as far as I can tell. It's not the greatest surface, but there's a variety of surfaces to check the little thing out. So without further ado, let's get cracking. So you get my steering trim sorted. It's pulling badly to the right. Nope. Nope, too much. Go to the left now. Still too much. There we go. Let's have a look here then. Not a lot of grip on this surface, but change direction quite nicely. Slow servo though. There's a lot of bounce from the suspension. I noticed that the shocks are not tailed up very well. There's a lot of air in them, and they tend to sort of lock fully upright. I wonder if that's what's happening. Let me just press. Slow in a straight line, of course. You can see that. Let's try another surface. Not really designed for this sort of terrain, but seems to be handling it okay. He says and gets stuck. There we go. Yeah, traverses it alright. You wouldn't use it on this sort of terrain. It's fun. This is not really what this is for. That deal's okay. Come on. I just said you deal okay. Good. Yeah, no, that's a beach. It's beached. Bit of rock traverse in there. Eager. An eager little thing. Again, you're not going to be using it for this sort of thing. Let's go on some terrain you would be using it on. Strange wobble, strange vibration from the front wheels when it's at full lock. You see that? Especially when turning right, it seems to be more pronounced. Definitely, no, maybe not actually. So, it does have a sort of a wobble at full lock. I don't know what that's all about. We'll check for play and the steering components. Sounds nicely though. Doesn't have a very good steering lock, as you can see. Very, very weak servo. But the chassis seems quite competent. It turns really nicely. But I keep, there we go, there it goes again. I keep having power cutouts. Little power cutouts every now and again. I think it's while you're on throttle as well as steering. Probably that horrible little 2-in-1 ESC receiver is to blame there. Yeah, I think so. Oops, sorry. Just every now and again the ESC's cutting out. There's the sun back out again. Might have to adjust the camera, hold on. Yep, let's just turn that down a little bit. What am I doing here? That'll do. That's pretty good. Yeah, strange vibration from the front wheels. Chassis handle's nice, but of course it's got very, very little power going through it. As soon as you start adding more power, and then things can get tied up in knots a little bit. You see that? Stuttering here, did you see that? There you go, cut out again. And again. The battery's just been fully charged, but I'm getting some cutouts. J-turn? The speed for the J-turn or the turning circle. Oh, wait a minute, is my steering rate turned up full? I've never even checked, let's check. Steering rate. Oh, there we go. That's a bit much actually. So the steering rate was set to half out of the box. Look how slow that steering servo is. Ah, see, look, I've got the steering rate set to about 60. I don't know if you can see that. It's set to about 60 because anything beyond that on the transmitter, the servo can't physically push because it's limited by the chassis or the servo reach. So you can hear the servo buzzing away, trying to get more steer when it can't. So that will end up killing the servo. That's why it was turned down to half on a standard. So I turned up to about 60. Yeah, turn the circles a little bit better. Oh, this is sun out even more, look. Do I need to? Yes I do. Let me just whoop. Ah. Yeah, so weird. You can check out that vibration. It really is weird. I love chucking it around. It's quite fun to chuck around. Yeah, it's not bad. I'm a little bit disappointed by the speed, but oh, there's that cut out. See it? That's that weird. I'm sure that's that weird ESC receiver just being rubbish because they are rubbish. Still can't get the steering trim perfect. It seems to adjust in increments rather than being completely. Can't think of the word right now. Oh, saved it. I like it. I like chucking it around. It's nice. The handle's quite nice. I just wish there was no vibration coming from it because it sort of throws it off a little bit when it starts to vibrate. I wonder what that is. I need to check out what that is. Let's have a quick look here. Let's have a quick look. I mean, no, there's no play in the ball joints or anything. No, there's no slop in that really. Not really. Ball joints are all nice and tight. And when I move them, when I'm moving the steering, it's actually the servo horn. Might be the Servo Saver, you know, it might be the Servo Saver. I might try tightening the Servo Saver up a little bit, because as I'm doing that, I'm actually moving the Servo Saver a little bit, but hardly moving the servo at all. You can see how much I'm moving the wheels. So, yeah, that's worth investigating. Oh, got stone in there. Let's try a different camera angle. Better try some loose gravel running as well. There's another cutout. It's really irritating actually. Oh. The ground is still a bit damp, so there's not much traction. It could also be that the tyres aren't very good, but they seem okay on the tarmac, of course. We do have mini spikes. Oh, it's cut out again. It's weird. Oh, and again. Come on. Come on. There we go. No, it's gone. There we are. Little test of the traction here. See if I can climb this. Oh, come on. I think it's bottoming out rather than running at traction. There we go. No. There you go. Yeah, it was just bottoming out. Nothing wrong with the traction there. Of course, a 1/10 or something more ground clearance would just speed right up that. But there we go. Seems okay. Tyres seem alright. There we go, a bit of air. Yes. Right, we're back inside. This is going to be my thoughts on the run we've just had. It's not going to be my final conclusion on this. You can't do a full review and conclude, oh yes, this is definitely worth buying or definitely not worth buying after one use. It just doesn't work. Your conclusion is not worth anything if you do that sort of thing, as far as I'm concerned. So I'll do a few videos on this and test it in a few different locations and stuff. But initial thoughts are very mixed, I must be said, very mixed. Let's get to the bad points first. That 2-in-1 ESC receiver cutting out is really annoying, really annoying. I've never liked those, especially the FTX ones. They're just cheap. I know obviously it's a cheap car. It's a cheap car, but they test these things, right? They do test these things. And I've come across, I think, 3 of them in quite close succession, including this one. One of them outright failed. It didn't work at all. But I say it didn't work at all. It moved forward and then it stopped, and then it moved forward and stopped, then it moved forward and stopped, and then within 5 minutes it stopped indefinitely. The other one with the surge would just sort of, you put your throttle on and there was at least, I don't know, 3/4 of a second before it started moving, and then it would almost, fitting by the name surge, it would almost have a power surge sort of. It was almost like it had a power band, you know. It would go, and it was really annoying. And then of course we've got this one, which as you could see was cutting out all the time. It was also really annoying. Interestingly, the surge was quite a lot faster than this, even though they've both got the 390 size motors and the same ESC speed controller. It could be, this is no heavier, in fact it's a bit the same, and it's rear wheel drive only, with the surge is 4-wheel drive. It could be that the brushes in this need to bed in a bit, or that the battery needs to sort of come to life a bit. I don't think that counts so much anymore. With back in the day with your nickel metal hydrides and nickel cadmiums, you needed to run them a few times before the voltage was actually, up there, if that makes sense. That's not the case anymore with lipos, but this is a lithium ion. Don't have a lot of experience with them. It shouldn't need that, but it's a cheap lithium ion, so maybe it needs a few runs. Maybe the motor needs a few runs before it gets a bit more speed out of it. My thoughts, this is me grasping at straws here a little bit, but maybe, because what it's obviously got some sort of voltage cutoff for lithium batteries, it could be that in case you don't know what that means, is if the voltage drops below a certain point, the speed controller will cut power to the motor to try and preserve the battery, because if the battery goes below a certain point, it can't be rescued. Unlike old batteries, it could go completely flat and just be charged up again. So it could be that that's cutting in. Every time I'm flooring it, it's drawing too much and the voltage is dropping from the battery and it's cutting. It could be that, in which case, bedding in the motor brushes and giving the battery more runs could help, but I'm very skeptical. I don't think it will. So that's my biggest concern so far, is the fact that this just keeps cutting out and it's really annoying. Another thing, it's not bad, but it's they made a big fuss about the bottom loading tray. They go, oh, you don't need to take the shell off, you just need to take the bottom tray off. So there we go, take the bottom tray off. There they are. And then you can just lift it like that, and you get the battery out. Fair enough. But is that more or less hassle than taking the shell off? Maybe you can argue less because it's one clip as opposed to 4. But what happens now? Oh, you need to plug the battery in. So I've got to either lift the shell up here, I've got to get in here, got to get the plug in, there we are, and then you've got to turn the switch on, which is in here. So you've either got to lift the shell like that every time on one side. Eventually this side of the shell will be bowed out a little bit compared to this side. Probably already is. Just because you're having to do this all the time. Or you're going to take the shell off to plug it in and turn it on. So other cars, obviously again this is cheap, but other cars that have bottom loading literally require no removal of the shell at all. You can get everything, you can get the plug, you can get the switch. This isn't the case. For me, I'd much rather have it sealed at the bottom, because completely sealed, which means you have a zero flex chassis. I don't know if that does introduce a little bit of flex anyway. It might not. But just take the shell off. It's not a hassle. Taking the shell off is not a hassle. I know this day and age people want things like that, but taking the shell off is not a hassle. And a lot of people, to save the bowing out of the shell, will be taking the shell off anyway just to switch it on and off and unplug it. Talking about the battery tray, you notice something? Come on. There we go. You notice something? look how loose that battery is in there. It's a soft case, polymer, not polymer, lithium ion battery. Soft case. And as you're driving around, boing, 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 bash, 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 crack, 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 crack. That's going to be rattled around, something rotten in there, this battery. It's already dented itself after first use. I'm not saying that there's an issue there, but no, people make a huge deal. Sorry, I still got a cold or something. People make a huge deal about making sure your lipos are either hard cased or protected in the soft case. And what they've done with this one is just put it in a tray that's way too big for the battery, and it's just going boing, 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 bash, 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 bash. Really? I mean, I might put some foam in here just to pad out a bit to keep it nice and still, because I don't like that very much. I also might, what is this? 1000 milliamp hours, so it is a very small one, which is why we only got about 15 minutes runtime. 15 minutes runtime is okay, but it doesn't take much to charge that, but could be doing a little bit more. I think what I might eventually start doing, I might not do it for next time because I still want to review it as is, but I might put a lithium polymer 2-cell in there, which gives perk it up a little bit. Ugh, you know what, I won't bother putting that away, save time. Now, anything else? Well, we had that funny vibration at full lock with the front wheels. It was weird. It's just, you give it a full, it was just going, it was turning, and then going, and I think it's the this thing. It's got the servo savers in there. See, servo savers in there, but I don't think that's adjustable. It wasn't skipping on the splines of the servo, was it? I don't think so. Oh wait a minute, there is a, hold on. There is actually a, you probably will never see that on the camera, but there is a spring in there for the servo saver. I wonder if that can be clamped down upon, because I bet you that's what's happening. Is it's getting to, see, yeah, you can see, look at this. If I turn the wheels, oh jeez. If I turn the wheels, maybe you can't see it, but at least you might be able to hear it. How much behind that servo turns. Like, if I turn the wheels, it'll go turn, and then there's a definite delay before you hear the servo reluctantly going, ee. It's the servo saver taking up the slack, obviously. I think the servo saver's vibrating away. When I'm getting that much movement before the servo actually engages. So, pretty sure that's the servo saver that was causing that vibration. I don't know if that can be tightened down upon. It might be possible. It might be possible. I could maybe find a, oh, sun's come out, I've gone all bright. Maybe find a stronger spring or something, just to, you know, because that was a bit weird, because it handled really well. The truck changed direction nicely, despite the slow servo. It was a very slow servo, very weak servo. Is it a normal sized one? I think it's a normal sized one, so, oh jeez, I'm thinking about upgrades already. Yeah, I think that we could probably cure that, and that would make it much better, because sometimes it was chucking back and forward really nice, and then other times there was a sort of reluctance to it to change direction coming from this. But on the handling front as well, I talked about the shocks. The shocks feel like the oil in it's too heavy, and there's definitely not enough of it. There's definitely not enough of it, but it feels like the oil's too heavy and there's not enough of it. So you've got this sort of weird thing going on where there's air and you can hear it. Can you hear that? There's very little oil in that. But then there's sort of almost pockets, I don't know if that's the right word, but there's almost pockets of resistance. I think the car would handle a lot better if it just had nice, quite light, I mean really quite thin shock oil, and then these were serviced properly and properly moving. That'd be a lot better. The speed issue, I don't think it's just the brushes. I think I'm guessing, without looking up, I'm guessing this little 2-in-1 thing, it's probably only got about 15 amps forward power, if that. You know, it's probably seriously weak, and that's one of the reasons. Having said that, the surge was quite a lot quicker. It's hard to tell. It's a beginner car, and it's aimed at young people entering into the hobby. So somebody getting a, you know, like an 8-year-old or something, or 10-year-old getting this for Christmas, which is fine. You know, with that in mind, it's absolutely spot on. You know, it's not too quick or anything, but I think with the speed it was producing, they would very quickly go, I wish there was more, very quickly, even if they were young. And then there comes another weakness of this 2-in-1 system. If you go, oh, I want more speed, let's put a faster, a better speed controller in it with more amps, and then maybe, you know, you can't fit a bigger motor, but I don't know, there's faster 390 motors, there probably is. If you do that, you've got to then replace the radio gear, because this is a 2-in-1, so you lose the receiver if you change speed controller. So the possibility to upgrade in the future is made more expensive by having, so you save the money in the production, I'm sure, having this 2-in-1. It must be why they do it. But to anybody who wants a little bit more, that will cost them money in the long run. My first thoughts right now are, if I wanted to make, my first thoughts are, I would rather, I mean, it's a £70 car, it's very cheap. I would rather this £70 car came with a better servo, a proper ESC, a proper receiver, and cost £90, because you could easily do that for £90. The oil as well, that doesn't cost you. People have to open these up to put oil in them, to close them up, before they build them, before they ship them out, right? Someone has gone in there and opened these already. It takes very little more time to fill them up properly than it does to fill them up wrongly, okay? So, I mean, yes, it's an entry-level car. Yes, the people who this is aimed at, they're not talking about setting lap records here and stuff. But if anything, an entry-level car where you're selling it to someone who's supposed to have no knowledge at all of the RC world, they should have better filled shocks from standard, because they're not going to have, like I have, bottles and bottles of different weights of oil upstairs, right? I know how to rebuild these things. I've got the equipment to do it. Someone new to the hobby doesn't. Someone new to the hobby doesn't know about shock oils and different weights and all the rest of it, probably. So they're certainly not going to have it sitting around. So if it's aimed at beginners, it should make it as easy as possible for beginners. And I think then in that regard, these should be filled up properly. And then the car, this thing, I mean, the defense for it is, obviously it's cheaper. It might pick up, if this starts bending the brushes in, if this starts picking up more voltage, maybe a little bit, this will help, maybe that will stop cutting it. And obviously if you bought this, you would have a warranty, and that would be, as far as I'm concerned, you would take that back and say, look, it keeps cutting out, maybe the shop that you bought it from can help you out there. I can't do that because I got it for free, and you know, I bought it at a price, so and that would be really, that'd be just the wrong thing to do completely. If I was going to send it back because it was free and it's not working right. So yeah, first thoughts, there's potential. The chassis seems competent. It handled alright, apart from with the wheels. It clambered over all sorts of terrain, quite the thing. It was fun. It was fun. That was the bottom line there. It was fun to chuck around. I was liking the way it sort of barreled over all the bumps and jumps, and yeah. But there's more in this. There's more locked in this. And the thing that frustrates me with the FTX is there's more locked in this with virtually no effort. You know, set up the shocks properly, and you've already made it better. You know, when you're designing it, don't design a battery tray that big for a battery that big, unless it's designed to be upgraded to 2-cell LiPo. Don't know. It's just little things that would make it better. I like the wheels and tyres. I like the way it looks. I like the way it drives. I just don't like the way it cuts out, and I don't like the way it's not quite handling as good as it should because of, you know, cutting corners of the suspension and not adjusting the Servo Saver properly if it can be adjusted, or conversely not designing a Servo Saver that can take the load. Just, you know, you do R&D in these things. If you find that the Servo Saver's slack, it's causing the front wheels to wobble, well, redesign it. You don't even need to redesign it. Put a stronger spring in. Sorted. So yeah, a few things that are just annoying, a few things that can be improved upon. But we're going to try it again. We're going to keep at it. We're going to run it in, because that's the thing. The bushes and the motor have not been run in at all. So that's something that needs done. We've got to try it on different terrain, we've got to try it on grass, we've got to try it on different things. I wanted to take it to somewhere that I can jump. Don't think there's enough speed as it is right now to jump. Got a whiff of something there, but seems okay. Yeah, there is potential in this little thing. There is potential. It's just that I feel that if you're selling it to people who are new to the hobby, they don't know how to unlock potential. So these things should be done as much as possible. That's just my thoughts on it initially, but we'll see how it progresses. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you look forward to seeing it again, and I hope this hasn't turned you off the Comet if you're considering one for a child or even for yourself. Bear with me, bear with me. I'm pretty sure there's something in here, something really quite nice. I honestly think this has got the potential to be my favourite FTX. But there's some barriers that need pushed through at the moment. So we'll see how it comes. Right guys, take care of yourselves. We'll see you later. Bye bye.